Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am so glad to be welcoming you all today to the Collectibles, the Lesbian Trading Card Reading Series. We are here for our December reading. Every month we gather to showcase the incredible poetry of a featured poet from our reading series, reading the work of another poet. And today I'll be talking about who those folks are in just a moment. We are so thrilled to be having the reading card series, which would not be possible without the visionary expertise and ability to create these trading cards without our Headmistress Press, the sponsor of today's reading series, and the reading cards, as well as an incredible catalog of titles. I want to encourage you to go to Headmistress Press and check out the website for your books and merch. Well, today we are going to we're going to get to hear some tremendous poetry. I have no doubt whatsoever, because we're going to be hearing from Alicia Mountain reading the work of H.D. Again, I want to welcome all of you to this truly unique monthly reading series. I love the aspect of having a poet share another poet's work and being able to feel what's being drawn from the legacy of the poet's work that the featured poet is reading from. It's such an interesting way to organize a reading series. And then, as if that's not enough, we will hear from 5 wonderful poets in our open mic. So let me start out by introducing Alicia Mountain. Alicia Mountain is card number 53. Alicia Mountain was born in 1988 in Oakland, California, and raised in South Orange, New Jersey. After graduating from Barnard in 2010, she attended Jean Valentine's poetry workshop, among others, and began publishing poems in 2013. After completing an MFA in poetry at the University of Montana, she began a PhD at the University of Denver. Thin Fire was selected as a 2017 Chapbook Prize finalist by Natalie Diaz, who also has a trading card, and is available as a free download from their website. Her debut full-length collection, High Ground Coward, from the University of Iowa Press 2018, was selected by Brenda Shaughnessy for the Iowa Poetry Prize and garnered excellent reviews. A strong voice and a knack for intimate detail is what Publishers Weekly had to say, and reads like a survival manual, a bulwark against a society that would flatten and silence queer women, from the Adroit Journal. In a 2018 interview with the Rumpus, Mountain noted, lesbian poets continue to be underrepresented in the canon, even in the LGBTQIA+ canon. I sense that lesbian identity is not often taken seriously. Well, today, with the reading series that we have here today, we're taking you seriously. Thank you so much, Alicia, for being card number 53. I can't wait to hear your work and the work of HD.
Thank you, Sandy. It was so fun to see you hold up those two little cards. Like HD and I are like finger puppets in this play. Um, I am so happy to be here. I've been able to tune into a couple of the preceding readings in this series, and not only is it great to hear poetry and to hear poetry by lesbian identified folks, it's also so fun to just be in a room of people that feel like a community across the country, across generations, even across like literary tastes and styles. It's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon. So I'm so happy to be with you, and grateful for the invitation to read. So I've picked out a bunch of poems to read, and these are poems that are also available online. And so just for accessibility, I'm going to pop the links to the poems in the chat as I read, so that if anyone needs to be able to read along to see them, that'll be available. And it's just also kind of a fun way to celebrate the journals that are publishing work right now. So to get started, here's a kind of goofy seasonal poem called All Our Aggregate Flu Shots, as we await our new seasonal shots. All our aggregate flu shots. Ye old space heater gets some exercise. I sit at the head of a bed or the foot of a table, liquored up, cleaned up nice. When haven't I donned gay apparel? I do a lot of things for some stuffing, a body cavity to fill. Yuletide, and I finally remember to get that mole checked out. If staying in Denver counts, then yes, I am traveling somewhere sunny. Women's college basketball is back, so I zone out, setting up cheerleader and point guard blind dates in my head. A mouse climbs the baseboard. My mom tells me that if she sends grapefruit in the mail and FedEx leaves it outside, the little cells of juice will burst and go bland. This is firsthand. I tell her I don't have a chimney, but I nailed some socks to the wall. And maybe not to the club soda fix for the historical stains we grind into our fabric. If there's decaf, I'll have some that's mostly milk. And then I have a couple poems scattered throughout that are in this book that I wrote. This is High Ground Coward, and normally I would send you to my website to go buy it, but because I want you to have the best deal, it's actually also like, I would never send you to Amazon. That would be just wrong. But it's on super sale at the University of Iowa Press, who published it. University of Iowa Press is selling it for $10. So screaming deal. If you want to get your hands on it, go there. The next poem I'll read is from the book, and also linked in the chat, and it is called Drive Through. Franchise French fries and a Frosty. In the front seat chill of January. All I need is the swamp of you. And to speak with the backlit voice through an intercom in unhurried tones of decision, though I know what I want. Static seasoning the breath between us, as if we are far apart, as if I am calling from a submarine at peacetime. And the crew is happy, but they miss their mothers. They have waited months for the mail to come. Because of my mom, we went to Wendy's. Because Dave Thomas was adopted as a baby before going on to found Wendy's, we went to Wendy's. Because my mom was an orphan too, we went to Wendy's, which is notable for using fresh, not frozen ground beef in square patties that hang over the edge of a round bun. And I don't eat burgers anymore, but there is a square peg, round hole phenomenon for each of us. There is a Dave Thomas for each of us. My father quit ROTC and says it's his great regret. Dave Thomas quit high school and learned to cook in the Korean War. Before I was 18, my father never asked, and I never told, until someone in the crepe paper dark of a dorm room sighed and said, "All your desires are sacred." What a way to fall in love with wanting. Tonight, I am asking for hot and cold, for grease and sweet, somewhere between chocolate and putty, a mouth up against a milk carton, froth the color of gray matter, a bit purple, a brain frozen, a brain freeze, please. The sentry in his sentry box is not so far away. And what he means to say is not pull up to the window, but rather come up for air, you submarine, you draft dodger, you twilight party of one. All your desires are sacred. All you need is to speak them aloud. Thank you. Thank you, little clapping hands. People come up to me after that, I read that poem, and they're amazed because they haven't heard fast food in a poem. And I've had folks in the audience say, like, I work at Taco Bell and I'm paying for school, and I didn't, like, no one writes poems about that, but we should be writing poems about all of the things as a way of kind of tearing down the ivory tower of poetry, I think. So next, just a visit to a different season briefly. This poem, I just pasted a link to, is called Little Rectangular Earths. And it's about 4th of July in the suburbs. Little Rectangular Earths. On 4th of July in the 90s, I was desperate for a glow stick. I mean, I knew we were supposed to be in it for the fire sky, for the red glare. We all knew, even before the skyline lost both front teeth. Flood's Hill carpeted in bare legs and Tupperware, and cops mostly not caring about open containers. I had a thing for aliens then. The lemon lime egghead tapering to a pointed chin. I was in it for the genderlessness of their power, and deep space and truth revealed in cornfields. Wanted $3 so I could bite through a fluorescent necklace and spit light from my insides, as neon as I knew them to be. Aliens. Good old, gotta have an alien poem somewhere in the repertoire. Everyone can hear okay? That's the right thing for you, and see okay? Thank you. Great. I'm right here in the chat too. If anything comes up, you can let me know. The next poem that I pulled up to share is a poem that is published in Lavender Review. And anyone who doesn't know about Lavender Review, who's here, might be interested in it. It's great, like, lesbian poetry and art journal that does really wonderful editorial work, and we're lucky to have them publishing now. And this is a poem, a pre-pandemic poem, but still kind of about anxieties and body and health. Electrocardiogram. In the season of great triumph and worry, I feared swallowing my sutures, and did, kept toggling between pro and antibiotics, coughing and snotting. The wet Portland night of many opportunities and successes, many headed joy, drove myself toward urgent care, behind the wheel with breath pain, aching not to hurt anyone else on the road as I went. Told the dispatcher, I think it hurts where my heart is. I was taking a lot of vitamins and things that couldn't hurt. And that wasn't the problem, except for the way they held telescope to my ableist fear of age and decline. After searching every remedy page for solution, for assurance, I find the closest diagnosis of all the ache at my center. There is no superfood or supplement to cure your sprained thinking that your body should be under your control. Days earlier, in panic, I insisted my sister explain every symptom of bile and gall that foreshadowed her extraction. Even if something is wrong, she said, it won't be wrong always. The general practitioner told me, I can only prescribe these to you 10 at a time without refill. Do you understand why? And I understand why, which is enough to make me worry about the addictions I don't have. And that version of me that sits, gown open to the front, alone at emergent care, not having told anyone I'm there. That body with a wire to each ankle and wrist, 6 at my left breast to read into my chest. She knows without being told that the EKG is fine, that the phantom grip beneath ribs, palms sweating the steering wheel, sun-hidden skin under overhead light, each owes much of its debt to my cumbersome refusal to fall apart, even in small embodiments. The new pain was the obvious certainty that this graph of voltage and time would show no trouble, nothing to be fixed, that the attack, acutely striking where my heart belongs, is my own incommunicable fear of losing a life I have only just begun to love. Nice to read that and be less afraid of having a heart attack or an anxiety attack, which is always in flux and an ongoing process of calm. Let's see. I think I'll read another one from this here book. And I'll put a link in there. This is, I think, a poem about missing people, missing friends, and being with people, and all those good things. Forward falling daytime. At sunrise, I say, light, shut up. Reset the dashboard clock while swerving. A travel mug rolling in the passenger footwell that was not, it turns out, spill-proof. Boulders in the rear view, like some molecular rushing, outran its invasive historic wearing away. Pitted weed against parasite and hollowed out my placeless worry. Left my initials on a tabletop in Bozeman. Scratched a rude mountain from a borrowed knife. Sunrise road so steep the car curses me rhythmically. Don't return my mother's calls in full, just that I am with my 2 friends at the edge of a mine. Don't name them because I am far away from generosity. In general, things are fine. The pit says hi. Gas is still cheap and I'm afraid I won't be famous. Cheesy cracker aftertaste stuck in my molars. What if I am known for nothing but forgetting to floss? We talk through a script about the end of humanity, reclamation and prairie grasses 9 feet tall. Possibility and integrity both a lessness, like towns called Phosphate, Racetrack, Anaconda, Opportunity. I want us to disappear, but all together so that we won't be alone. Applause for you, applause for you. And I'll just read a couple more before we get to turn to this Titan HD, our legacy poet that I'm lucky to channel today. But I'll read just a handful more, and then we'll get to her. And then we'll get to our open mic. We have Carolyn and Liz and Emily and Hilary and Megan, and I'm excited to hear them and to hear about their new books too. This next one is kind of taking the form of TurboTax, of getting those taxes done, but in a poety way, you know. Number love my taxes. Even though I like have it up on the screen to send you the link, if it's in the book, I have some analog fondness for reading it out of the book, so I'll do that. Number love my taxes. Like a wrapped gift I had put off opening because the shake of it said, I got right answers in me. And I have been holding the map in a fog so thick I can't see the length of my arm. So this Cosmo quiz of income I'm counting on to make sense of how we were never married, but I dream more than I sleep now. Of how the fire alarm went off for 20 minutes at midnight, hungry for a 9-volt, and hitting it with a broom handle felt like shaking a baby. My neighbor drives his kids 4 hours one way to see their mom, and she will still be locked up for years. Someone abandons a wheelchair in the snow in front of my house, and somebody else shovels a bent path around it. When they test my blood, they ask, have you ever exchanged sex for drugs or money or something that you needed? There must be a write-off in all of this. In the number of box elder bugs trapped against storm windows, in the growing mole on my left breast, in the way a woman puts her hot tongue to it, long enough that I forget my grandfather's melanoma, my Aunt Barb's mastectomy, in who claims each of us and how they do it, how the tattoo won't come off, how we are so many dependents, how one headlight will do for now. We expect a tearaway check in the mail some weeks towards summer, those of us who didn't stack enough in the black. I recycle the magazines wearing strangers' names that I don't call to cancel because I am alone enough already. And when the check does come, the watermark reads, leave this town, leave this state altogether, like a receipt stamped, no returns, no exchanges. You can't undo what you have done. Thank you, thank you. And I think we'll go to this one. This one is, I lived in Montana, in a beautiful little town in Montana called Missoula, and it was like where I started writing poetry seriously, where I took my did my MFA, and I left there, but it's a place that's like so gorgeous it's hard to leave. And so this is about like, you know, trying to come back, and you never really come back. Self same river, thrice. Bought the kind of discount flight where you don't even bring a carry-on, thinking you'll arrive to everything you left behind. How the lady at Bargain Corner said that at least once a week, someone comes in to buy back what they've given away. And sometimes it's there, and sometimes it isn't, and sometimes they don't want to pay. Walked past the old house and couldn't lift my eyes to it. Flicked what glowing butt of home I had held as an ember and ground it into the grass I used to mow. Down by the water, got carried away thinking of the spring that a man eating a driver's seat burrito in the Taco John's parking lot left his life and his truck in reverse. The whole diesel carapace rolled backward into the river so high it drowned and tumbled them down to the minor league field. The season hadn't started yet. The sand was still uncombed. Stepped over and over into the pool of guts I spilled before women as offering, poking around in the offal of myself. Here, my paternal discontent. Here, my queer Tupperware childhood. Here, the meteor shower that spangles my birth night and how I like to be alone from the light pollution when it falls. Gathering this up, soupy in my arms. It's for you. This is all for you. It was. It still is, slipping heavy out of grasp. A wet trout in a wet hand before it's knocked pocket knife dead. End on a dead fish, they always say when you're in poetry school. My girlfriend is on the couch trying to be very quiet so as not to make noise, and when I said end it with a dead fish, I looked over and she had like her hands clasped over her mouth trying not to burst out in laughter. That's what they told me. Okay, enough goofing around. We got 3 more poems and then HD. And on with the show. This poem is, I'll actually just do, this link has 2 poems, so we'll do both of those and then one more and then HD. So these are newer pieces that aren't yet in the book, but hopefully there will be a new book. Working on that. Rebar Goodnight is the first one here at Poetry Northwest. Downhill in dusk, past the derelict school, whose margins the city keeps spraying with a pesticide that wiped out a hive in the community garden. My girl clipped pepper spray to my keychain, saying, "Tough guy, when you take the alley behind the motel, at the end of the day, you're still a girl. At the end of the day, the empty jar of my soup lunch, the Ziploc bag that I will sponge clean and turn inside out, undignified on the kitchen counter." Formica is a trademarked word. Formica was developed as a replacement for mica. I don't want to be too literal when I say that whatever could be mined here has been mined. Shiny and crumbling, flaking, fish scaling, dislodged. The other kitchen deceit is how aluminum foil dipped in water brings chrome to a luster, brings the Craigslist guy's wallet out when you can't keep on paying insurance on the bike, but rustless, it runs like a gun sight. Crossing an intersection on the diagonal, I miss my mom. I miss the Austrian neighbor lady I called Mrs. Terminator Grandma, but only in my head, embarrassed at having given her enough thought to love her. And then on the same page, we can just scroll down. And this is a poem called Nocturne at Parting, and it's secretly in iambic pentameter. It's secretly in blank verse. We'll see how it actually sounds read aloud, but that's the idea. Nocturne at parting. And when she said good night, she meant good night. Do not confuse it. Step and step again. The gray dusk settles silty into its now powdered leaves. The heel that you will drag until you die is muffled, is made good. And when she said good night, she meant good night, good boy, good dog, belly up for a love that scratches. Night so good when left alone, it tore nothing to shreds, it made no mess. And you who want for mess, left with a nod. And when she said good night, she named you night, a gallant darkness. You are everywhere, the shadowless owl, the bright hunted eyes, a fearsome gallop, back to the east wind, wounded and sanguine and mercenary. And here, last but not least, is a totally doofy little poem that I wrote after Tomasz Salomon called Amphib Fatigue, about when we used to fly on airplanes, when we used to travel for readings and things, which will happen again soon. Amphib Fatigue. So Tomasz Salomon has a poem where he writes about a character named Tomasz Salomon, and so I did that here. Alicia Mountain grows weary without reason, and she has tried so hard to be reasonable. She has taken vitamins daily and made lists that are placed in recycling bins once their tasks have been completed. She took the afternoon flight to get to you rather than the 6 a.m. flight so that this weariness would not arrive a stowaway. Alicia Mountain wants a clear head for you. Alicia Mountain wants bright eyes like whetstones for you. And deceit, only that the stones are slick, small frogs in disguise for you, admitting truth in that they rustle and breathe. And you will say, Alicia Mountain brought stones heavy in their sockets for me. They are yours, I'll say, and they are frogs. The end. Thank you. Oh. Thank you, lovely faces in boxes. I imagine that Sandy wants to give us an HD bio.
Happy to do it. Very happy to do it. Thank you so much. Terrific poems. And here we go with HD, who is actually card number 33. HD, 1886 to 1961, was born as Hilda Doolittle to a wealthy family in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. She moved to London in 1911 and began writing, earning a central role in the emerging Imagist poetry movement. 3 of her poems were published in the January 1913 issue of Poetry under the name HD. Imagist. Always drawn to great artistic minds and friends and lovers, with many, it was Ezra Pound who had the greatest influence on her career. HD married once, had a daughter, and had sexual relationships with both men and women. She attributed psychoanalytic work with Freud in the 1930s to opening her sexuality and creativity. Between the 2 world wars, she published 4 volumes of poems. Hymen, 1921, Heterodora and Other Poems, Heliodora and Other Poems, 1924, Hippolytus Temporatus, 1927, and Red Roses for Bronze, 1931. Following World War II, her published poetry includes The Flowering of the Red, 1946, and Helen in Egypt, 1961. Always a poet's poet, feminists revitalized her legacy in the 1970s. And Hermetic Definition, 1972, was published posthumously. There it is, HD card number 33.
Thank you so much, Sandy. So good to know about this kind of ancestor. So I grabbed this enormous collected works, but it's just collected from 1912 to 1944. So it's still, there's much more outside this volume. But I think I want to read a few of HD's early poems. There are some that are, I mean, she's a real imagist, and just offering a lot of like sensory description. And some of the poems are narrative, but really what I take from HD's work is like lushness and richness and indulgence, in that we get to just kind of revel in the body and in the sensory experience. So I'll start with a poem called The Gift. Instead of pearls, a wrought clasp, a bracelet, will you accept this? You know the script. You will start, wonder, what is left? What phrase after last night? This, the world is yet unspoiled for you. You wait, expectant. You are like the children who haunt your own steps for chance bits. A comb that may have slipped, a gold tassel unraveled, plucked from your scarf, twirled by your slight fingers into the street, a flower dropped. Do not think me unaware, I who have snatched at you as the street child clutched at the seed pearls you spilt on that hot day when your necklace snapped. Do not dream that I speak as one defrauded of delight, sick, shaken by each heartbeat, or paralyzed, stretched at length, who gasps. These ripe pears are bitter to the taste. This spiced wine, poison, corrupt. I cannot walk. Who would walk? Life is a scavenger's pit. I escape, I only, rejecting it, lying here on this couch. Your garden sloped to the beach. Myrtle overran the paths. Honey and amber flecked each leaf. The citron lily head, one among many, weighed there, oversweet. The myrrh hyacinth spread across low slopes. Violets streaked black ridges through the grass. The house, too, was like this, overpainted, overlovely. The world is like this. Sleepless nights, I remember the initiates, their gesture, their calm glance. I have heard how, in rapt thought, in vision, they speak with another race more beautiful, more intense than this. I could laugh. More beautiful, more intense? Perhaps that other life is contrast always to this. I reason, I have lived as they in their inmost rites. They endure the tense nerves through a moment of ritual. I endure from moment to moment. Days pass all alike, tortured, intense. This I forgot last night. You must not be blamed. It is not your fault. As a child, a flower, any flower, tore my breast. Meadow chicory, a common grass tip, a leaf shadow, a flower tint, unexpected on a winter branch. I reason, another life holds what this lacks. See, unmoving, quiet, not forcing our strength to rise to it beat on beat, a stretch of sand, no garden beyond, strangling with its myrrh lilies a hill not set with black violets, but stones, bare rocks, dwarf trees, twisted, no beauty to distract, to crowd madness upon madness. Only a still place. Perhaps some outer horror, some hideousness to stamp beauty, a mark. No changing it now on our hearts. I said no string of pearls, no bracelet, except this. What a love note after a night. And I think I'll bring us to, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The poem Orchard. Again, an early HD poem. And this one has some beauty and some, I think, a little eroticism in here too. I saw the first pair as it fell, the honey-seeking, golden-banded, the yellow swarm was not more fleet than I. Spare us from loveliness. And I fell prostrate, crying, you have flayed us with your blossoms, spare us the beauty of fruit trees. The honey-seeking paused not. The air thundered their song, and I alone was prostrate. O rough-hewn god of the orchard, I bring you an offering. Do you alone, unbeautiful son of the god, spare us from loveliness? These fallen hazelnuts, stripped late of their green sheaths, grapes, red-purple, their berries dripping with wine, pomegranates already broken, and shrunken figs and quinces untouched, I bring you as offering. And then just a couple of short little HD poems before we get to open mic. Oread. This poem is all of 6 lines. Whirl up, sea. Whirl your pointed pines. Splash your great pines on our rocks. Hurl your green over us. Cover us with your pools of fur. What a thing to turn the ocean into a forest there, full of pines. But when you think about it, there's so much green in the ocean that image, I go with it. I'll follow her there on that image. And the next one, just 5 lines, called The Pool. I think it could be called a lot of other things though. Are you alive? I touch you. You quiver like a sea fish. I cover you with my net. What are you, banded one? Love it. Love it. And I think maybe this will be our last one from HD. This one's called Moonrise. Again, in this eco-poetics vibe. Moonrise. Will you glimmer on the sea? Will you fling your spearhead on the shore? What note shall we pitch? We have a song. On the bank we share our arrows. The loosed string tells our note. O flight, bring her swiftly to our song. She is great. We measure her by the pine trees. Yay. Oceany. Thank you so much for making a space for me here, and so excited to hear Carolyn and Liz and Emily and Hilary and Megan.
Thank you so much, Alicia. How about we just unmute for a moment and allow folks for you to hear the applause for a moment. Fantastic. Beautiful reading. There you go. Thank you. I loved hearing your work, and I loved hearing, as you said, that lushness of HD. Just what a wonderful place to travel from all of your popular culture references into the deep, deep sea and back. Thank you so very, very much. You've been listening to Alicia Mountain, card number 53 in the reading card series, reading from also the work of HD number 33. Folks, look, I'm here to sell trading cards. No, I'm not. I'm here to listen to poetry. But I do want to say these trading cards are so fantastic. And if you'd like one of your own sets, either the 2019 edition that Alicia's in, or the 2018 set, or any of the editions, or why not collect them all? I know Yeva's been working on that. Go over to the Headmistress Press website where you can pick up not only these fabulous trading cards, they're so fun, but also any of the titles of the incredible poets of Headmistress Press. All right, my friends, now to our open mic readers. And what a wintry wonderland of poets we have here this afternoon. I'll introduce each one as they read. And first up, we have Carolyn Boll. Carolyn is a graduate of the Humber School for Writers. Her writing and collages have appeared in Lavender Review, the Gay and Lesbian Review, the queer issue of Mayday magazine, the Dance Current magazine, and the Montreal Gazette. The recipient of several Canada Council for the Arts and Quebec choreography grants, her book, Social Dance, from Sally Jane Books, Headmistress Press, is a playful partnership between her background in dance and her love of language. And we welcome you from Canada. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Hi there. Thank you for that. And thank you for this invitation to be part of today. This is lovely. Everybody knows me. I'm a very weepy person, so you'll just have to, if that happens, it happens. So I'm going to read from Social Dance. Well, and to honor the fact that Headmistress Press, Sally Jane Books published it, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I do want to just show you, so the book does kind of play with these notions of dance. So I call it like a ballroom floor choreography. So yeah, so that's just to give you a sense of that. And then the first poem I'm going to read, I'm actually going to read with my wife, Sue, who generally when I read these poems, I invite somebody to be part of that. And she does not normally want to be a part of that, but because of COVID, she gets to play. Yeah. So yes, exactly. Cheer her on. So these I write with two hands. So she's going to read one hand, I'm going to read the other, and then you'll see how it goes. The first one's called Two Becoming One. Exhaling, I become one. Taste me fully, and then come to me and be unashamed, unprepared, and undressed. Cry, laugh, yes, and embrace.
Oh, and so, as one, oh, pearl, opalescent, curved, possibility. Can we love and play and dance? Yes.
Exhaling, I become one.
Oh,
Taste me.
and so
Taste me fully.
as one.
And then
Oh,
come
pearl,
to me
opalescent,
and be
curved,
unashamed,
possibility.
unprepared, and
Can we love
undressed,
and play
cry,
and dance?
laugh, yes, and embrace.
Yes.
That's a first.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the second one, I just want to give a little preamble to it because on June 26th, 2015. So that I received an email from Mary Miriam, who has let me know that this poem was in the Gay and Lesbian Review. As serendipity would have it, and Mary and I share a lot of serendipity over the years, it was also the day that gay marriage became true all across the United States. And the song is actually called Salon de la Mariée. So it plays a little bit with the French English because I'm here living in Montreal. So Salon de la Mariée means a wedding salon. It's these things where you go and you cakes and booths and dresses and all of that.
I'm gonna get out of the way when you do that.
And so I wrote this when Sue and I went to the Salon de la Mariée shortly before we got married. In Canada, it was earlier. So anyway, for me, it's very meaningful that it actually ended up being accepted into the Gay and Lesbian Review at the same time as in the United States became a thing. Oh, I'm just going to say one thing in French. It's called Palais de Congrès, and that means convention center. But there's a play of words between English and French because Congrès and Congress play together. Okay. Salon de la Mariée. We're going to the Salon de la Mariée, going dancing at the Palais de Congrès. Wedding marches and hey, what the hey, wedding cakes. And who's going to pay? No matter. We've got two laissez-passés. Band or DJ? And what about the bouquet? We're going to the Salon de Mariée, going dancing at the Palais de Congrès. What about waltzing down the allée with one another all the way? What to wear on this special day? When doing the two-step, and of course, what to say. To love, cherish, honor, and obey. We're going to the Salon de la Mariée, going dancing at the Palais de Congrès. Nothing can stop us. Hip, hip, hooray. We're planning our own special day. Shuffling and stepping, get out of the way. We're going to the Salon de Mariée, going dancing at the Palais de Congrès. Yeah. I get to cry at my own wedding, which we did do. And so then the next one, it's called The Big Questions. A dolmade, darling? Ramen, my ravishing? Martini or margarita? Sour cream and chives or 3 cheese, if you please? Oh, the decisions, the choices, the wants, needs, and desires of a day on vacation with my beloved. Calm peace and the light of laughter reign as our kingdom of love and delicious succulence and luscious licentiousness leave us wholly satisfied and faced with the real questions of life. Breakfast my muffin? Curry my favorite one? Or ham? Yes, ham with maple syrup to sweeten my days with you. And dessert? No, not tonight, dear. Just you. And the last one is
Oh, I'm back.
The Return of Sue. Another two-voiced one. I'm finding it. Okay. It's I'm on this side, right?
Yeah.
No,
No.
you're this side. I'm
Yeah.
this side.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm this side.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's called Come Out to Dance. No, that's you.
I'm this. Yes, that's right. I was gonna say I'm not. Okay. Perchance, are you the one I've been dancing towards all these years, spins, rhymes, and reason, explored endlessly? Let's dance and become one. No, you are not the one. We are.
I wish for you sweet treasures. I whisper to you delight. I sigh across the room and go, start, become able at last to dance with you, we lovers of old.
Perchance,
I wish for you
are you
sweet
the one
treasures.
I've been
I whisper to you
dancing
delight.
towards
I sigh across
all these
the room
years,
and go,
spins,
start,
rhymes,
become
and reasonable, explored
at
endlessly.
last.
Let's dance
To dance
and become
with
one.
you,
No, you are
we,
not the one.
lovers of
We are.
old. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. I just wrote in the chat, this is why I love live readings. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Carolyn.
Thank you.
Sue, fantastic. Your debut, fantastic. Well, next, after that fantastic dance, we have the beautiful background of Liz again. Liz lives inside of comic books, but frequently emerges from this 2D universe to write short fiction, creative nonfiction, and poetry, primarily about gender and sexuality. Her zodiac animal is the wood horse, which is allegedly good at self-deprecating humor. Her work has appeared in the New Haven Review, Broken Pencil, Litro, Curve, and others. Please welcome Liz Nygyen.
Coolios. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, is it working? Oh, okay. I hope it's working.
It's
Okay.
working. You sound perfect.
Okay, thank you. I can't see my screen properly, so I'll just rely on you all. Okay, thank you so much, Sandy, for hosting, and thank you, Risa, for inviting me today. I'm super honored and excited to be here amongst you all. I have two poems to read to you today. It's wonderful to be amongst you all. I hope that you can all also excuse my lack of eye contact. I struggle with eye movement. Okay, the first one is Motor Dyke Love Song. Dyketron, ride on, I'll be your crotch rocket. Rev me between your thighs, all the way to the wharf. The patrons will whisper as you slip oysters between your teeth. salt and pepper hair, spicy cologne, but you'll only have eyes for me, our gaze meeting through the window glass. Silent, I'll watch you swish and swirl your wine until the glass is dry. As the sun sets fire to my armor, a kiss upon the chrome, you'll climb back on, hit the highway, and let me sing my love song. I really delight in literature about sexuality. Sexuality delights me. So it tends to be a great subject of interest. The next poem also is about the lesbian experience and eroticism. So the next one is Lady Godiva. Yellow slit eyes strip me bare. Claws nick my skin as she prowls closer, seeking intimate conversation. Rough licks her rich darkness, filling me. Entangled limbs, backs arching, toes curling from warm, sweet stickiness. Wet teeth on my knuckles. Squirming, her belly yields. Vanilla velvet goodness. A last sweet sigh, purring, our mutual taste satisfied. Thank you very much.
Liz, I marvel at your clear, exquisite, poetic vision of your words
Oh, thank you.
and your being. Thank you. Well, after that, we have, as if it just doesn't continue to get better and better. Oh my gosh, everybody's fantastic today. Emily Mohn-Slate. Emily is the author of The Falls from New American Press 2020, just published this October. The winner of the 2019 New American Poetry Prize, as well as Feed, winner of the 2018 Keystone Chapbook Prize from Seven Kitchens Press. I love that press so much. She lives in one of my favorite cities here in the US, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and teaches high school English and poetry workshops for the Mad Women in the Attic at Carlow University. Another favorite organization of mine. Jan Beatty is an amazing, amazing ambassador of poetry. And we're very happy to have you, Emily, with us today from Pittsburgh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And thank you, Risa and Mary, for organizing. I am just thrilled to be here with you all today. What a shot of light and goodness and connection. I've just been really needing that big time. And so thank you so much for inviting me into this space and to share some poems with you. I'm just going to share a couple poems about the poet Charlotte Mew. Headmistress Press runs the Charlotte Mew Chapbook Contest, and so I feel like it's kind of perfect, to be able to share these with you. And I was remembering that, Mew has a connection to HD. So when I graduated from my MFA program, I wrote a lecture on Mew. I became obsessed with her, just fell in love with her and her work. And I remember that Mew's first book, The Farmer's Bride, did not do well. Mew is not as well known as she should be. But one of the best reviews that she got was by HD. And so I love that there's this connection here, and we're invoking both of their spirits today. If you don't know Charlotte Mew, she's a British poet who lived around the turn of the 20th century. And I started writing these poem letters to her when I found her work. And her poetry really changed my life. So this is the first poem I wrote to Mew when I was looking for her grave north of London a bunch of years ago. Dear Charlotte Mew, July. Before I heard your voice on the page, I was afraid my words were not enough, but your peculiar music stirred the loneliest fields in me. What is it about her? My friend asks. Is it enough to say our wounds are sisters? When you died, the reporter wrote, Charlotte knew, said to be a writer. It stung me too. In Hampstead Cemetery, I look for you, bend to each misshapen name, hot, confused, so many Charlottes who aren't you, trip over sticks and dents in dry grass, apologize to the dead, jump when birds peel from willows at my head. Sorry, sorry, I say to your neighbors, swig of water, hunch lower to see your marker. Straw grass thickets your sunken plot, almost erases the day you died. Dante's line still clear. Cast down the seed of weeping and attend. I lie down in your grass. It pricks my fingers. Such slight inches of earth between us. Did you write a note before you poured Lysol into the glass? Did they bury you in your suit coat? Everybody thinks that you are dead, but I. What good to say? I'm glad I found you. The next poem has an epigraph from one of Charlotte's poems, and it's called In Nunhead Cemetery, and you should all go read it immediately after this and read all of her work too. All right, Dear Charlotte, July. This is the epigraph. The others have gone. They were tired and half afraid, but I would rather be standing here. I wish you were famous enough for them to have kept your home intact. Dodie visited Whitman's stuffed parrot, but who knows where your weck is decayed. Today is hot for England, high July. A family picnics near your plot, laughing. A child drips an ice cream cone onto a grave. On the way here, I passed the London Pride Parade. I imagined you holding Ella or May's hand instead of your own faded lapel. Charlotte, can you smell the sea? It's not far off. Out there, you can float for miles. Try out your voices on the wind. When you come to my door on Elysian Street, I will ask you in. I will plant you a bougainvillea, water it until the bright petals blaze. When you met yourself at your door, which face did you see, wet with rain? At your grave, weeds wash your plot with weak colors. I will stay until the moon finds your grave, until the rooks arrive wearing their slick black coats. Thank you. It's so nice to be at a reading where not everybody has their video off, because I feel like I'm not just reading into the void. So thank you. I know it's hard. It's often hard to keep your video on, so no worries if you can't, but it's really nice to see your faces. All right, this is my last poem, and it borrows some lines from you, and you'll know because they're the best lines. Dear Charlotte, November. My shoulders wedge into a box hammered shut by others, their needs heavy on my chest. I see you in those rooms where, for good or ill, things died. How much weight were you buried under? Making sacrifices for women who found you clever, amusing, not enough. I shall never touch your hair or hear the little tick behind your breast. In your dim row house, making tea for your mother, unable to leave your gentle sister. How much weight, Charlotte? Could you hear the shovel ramming down? Maybe the trees will understand, wise trees that do not care. Dirt sifting in through the slats. I feel clumpy grains on my tongue, spit them out, listen harder for your voice. For decades, you clicked down Theobald's Road, pork pie hat, men's suit, umbrella in hand. Red is the strangest pain to bear. A rose can stab you across the street deeper than any knife. Only you could say it that true. The kindest words can be the cruelest, and my soul is red too. What I mean is, you are the only one who might hear me, and you are still dead. Thank you.
Wow. Whew. Thank you so much, Emily. You can see everybody in their squares, and fantastic. Risa, would you hold up that book, The Falls, so we can take a peek at the cover and have people put that in the, have a peek at that cover. You've been listening to Emily Mohn-Slate, and from in her new book, 2020, just this October, The Falls. And thank you for bringing the voice of Charlotte Mew to our screens today. There it is. Thank you, Risa. Fantastic. All right, our next reader is Hilary Brown. Hilary is a poet and queer disability activist in Chicago. Their collection, When She Woke, She Was an Open Field, is available from none other than your Headmistress Press. Other work of Hilary's can be found in Queerly, Apt, the Octillo Review, and South Carolina Review. Would you please join me in welcoming Hilary Brown, and thank you genuinely for your work and your activism in your communities. Makes a huge difference.
Hi. Thank you. So my favorite poem by HD is Eurydice. And so when I was choosing a poem, like Eurydice is a little bit long, and most of my poems are like this long because you can't screw up much in 3 lines. So when I was choosing a poem, I chose my only poem that is longer, and that's what I'm gonna read. It's called Philomela in Idaho. Also got that Greek thing going. Every girl here is a nightingale, unbelieved and weaving songs she cannot sing. We receive nothing in the end, an empty inheritance, a handful of threats, an empty field after harvest, weeds burning in the ditch, air filled with the scent and sting of smoke. Almost comfort, almost enough. If we are lucky, we leave. We are transformed and we find our flight away. The wilderness was desert, was farmland, pockmarked with grain elevators, rusted metal, rusted out cars, abandoned sheds, barns, the old school, the old garage, the buildings piled high with old furniture, brick church, bonfire, backwoods, back alleys, backyards, garages, home. And silence left no obvious scar. There was never any proof to hold up. A withered stump crying offense to the gods, offense to the prophets and protectors and parents. No, there was just crying in all its fruitlessness. Silence is its own bleak thing. There is no metaphor for this. Knuckles scraped on rock or brick, leave it as it is. You cannot bandage it. There is no healing without the open wound in open air, the damage there where everyone can see. Good morning, windswept dawnlight, farmland growing more barren, decay, generations who have lived here, children who will not stay. I would like to write a love song to memory. I have forgotten the memory for which I would sing. It is all lost and gone. It is a hollow thing. The roots no longer run that deep. This is a beautiful land. We have marked it and marred it, carved our initials into it, determined we must not be forgotten. It is still a beautiful land. Bury me in topsoil. Make me easy carrion. Give me away only then. Don't allow me to be prey. Somewhere the sun is rising in reverse. I cannot recognize it without the backdrop of home, the slope of the mountains far to the east and far to the west, the slope of my neighbor's roof outside my window. In memory, my mother walks to the middle of the road, shades her eyes and watches the sunset, one hand on her hip. I would like to write a love song to the lonely land where I grew, to imagine I flew over like a lonely bird, like an ordinary bird, to imagine I never got lost in all these specifics. The air has stilled and is filled with waiting. Each bird has returned to her nest, each rabbit to his burrow. We are instinctual, filled with hiding. We know the sound of thunder before it rumbles in our ears, the flash of lightning before it fills our vision. Have you seen panic in the eye of a horse, the rolling reveal of white, the tremble and tense of muscle? The danger is there, at the base and the height of fear. We are not taught that fear, neither the paired sorrow, but we have learned. Every mile on this highway is an ode to the evening news, and it has been bad news for months. We drive on. Thanks.
Hilary, that was extraordinary. And I want to encourage you to keep writing longer poems. And as well as your shorter poems. That love song of memory. There it is. You've been here listening to Hilary Brown. Thank you for joining us today from Chicago. And you can get Hilary's book at the Headmistress Press website. Well, folks, our final reader today in our illustrious open mic is Megan Alpert. Megan Alpert grew up in the suburbs of New York City and has since lived in St. Paul, Seattle, Boston, Washington, D.C., and Quito, Ecuador. She is the recipient of an Orlando Poetry Prize from A Room of Her Own Foundation and residencies at the Vermont Studio Center, Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, the studios at Mass MoCA, and Marquette Chamber Residency. As a journalist, she has received fellowships from Foreign Policy and the International Women's Media Foundation, and her debut collection has just come out earlier this fall in 2020. The Animal at Your Side from Airlie Press, which won their poetry prize. Would you please welcome Megan Alpert?
Thank you so much. I have loved this event. It was wonderful hearing all of the poets, amazing work. Love seeing queer joy and love on the screen. It's been really nice. And yeah, this is my book. I recommend it for if you're buying gifts for this December. Queer people, you could buy it for queer people in your life, for young people in your life, for people in your life that have problematic families and family relationships. Yeah. All right. Recommending my own book. You know, it's a pandemic. All right. I'm just going to read 2 poems. This is called What We Kept. We kept the war under our tongues, kept it in our hamstrings, in our bones. We kept the war in our cereal bowls, in our juice, kept it in our first love, standing in the porch light, waiting to be kissed. We kept it close in the hems of our shirts, our face cream, kept it in our bad skin. We kept it in our driveways, sitting quiet in the yard, flying the Bronx River Parkway, 2 a.m., kept it in key rings smashed into tables, the imprints they left on our palms. We kept it door to door, kept it moss green in hinges, kept it mean under our fingernails, forgotten in our socks. Sometimes we stood at the edge of a blueberry field, birds lit by the last of the sun. But under our skin, the whir click of the war beginning. And then I'm gonna read a second newer poem. This is from a series that I hope I'm done with on Anger. It's called Alecto Wolves. And Alecto is one of the Furies from Greek mythology. It's in 2 parts. I wanted the wolves to let me stay where I was, to let me keep what I had. If meat lay rotting in the yard, I'd step around it. If mold grew in the gutters, I'd breathe the spores. The house's outer wood was sad and gray, but inside it was new enough for furniture. She brought sofas and her own made table. We had a fireplace and a mantle with a photograph. But the wolves sent grief running through the storm drain. They sent rage that made the housewood warp and bend. They forced me out from there with nothing on my back and no guide. I listened. Voices in the leaves at first, then voices of the dead, then finally voices of the living ran up my veins like chlorophyll thickening a stem. They took me to mines and watersheds. I breathed. I spread my arms. 2. I met 2 men, a half girl I lost, and a second, starving and heartsick. He sang me to my knees. He heard, he loved the voices in me. The scars on his chest inked into morning glories, and I held fast to his listening ear at my sternum. When he grew violent and frightened, I dimmed their gnash and howl, staved off the wolves that gathered in the weak apartment light. The voices cut out. My breath went out like a wind-struck candle, rigid-mouthed, sleepless under the helicopters. The wolves sent heat, sent visions of my own arms cut open into pools, because I'd repelled them. I walked into the woods alone, the snow a balm to my throat, spine bent, following their tracks. I want to be what I was.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. The animal at your side. There it is, that poem too. You have been listening to the poets in our open mic. You've just heard from Megan Alpert, whose 2020 debut collection, The Animal at Your Side, is out from Airly Press. And I think Risa has the book. There it is. We want to give a shout out to Megan's collection. We also heard in the open mic Carolyn Boll, Liz Nygyen. Hilary Brown. Emily Mohn-Slate. And Megan Alpert. And at the top of the hour, we heard the work of Alicia Mountain, card number 53 in the trading card series, reading the work of HD number 33. I love the numerology today, and I love the trading card series, and I love Headmistress Press. Well, if you have enjoyed our reading today, and what was not to love about the voices we heard today, and the extraordinary journeys that we traveled with each of these poets. But if you've loved this, I hope you'll join us next month, January 16th, to be specific, with our featured poet trading card, number 2. Leslie Newman, fantastic. Number 2, reading the work of number 15, Gertrude Stein. You don't want to miss this reading. I don't want to miss this reading. So join me next month, Saturday, July 16th, back here, 12 noon, 3 Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK. Not sure which province Montreal is right now, but there's time for all of us to attend the reading. There's a time zone for each of us. Well, we've been here today for our fabulous, fabulous reading series, the Collectibles, Lesbian Trading Card reading series. A final reminder that you can purchase your very own trading cards, as well as Headmistress Press titles, at the Headmistress Press website. I'm Sandra Yannone, your host of the Collectibles, Lesbian Poet Trading Card Reading Series, and author of Boats for Women from Salmon Poetry, as well as the host of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry on another Zoom channel, Sundays on Facebook. It's been quite a year, and I'm so glad that one of the things that's emerged from the pandemic is this reading series. It has made the year all the better. I'm wishing you all the best in this season of light. Happy holidays and Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2021.